trees that will ensure the connectivity first before you can demand people to use e-citizen to access government services. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable CS, you may now proceed to respond to the first set of questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I captured questions from 4 senators. I missed one, and unfortunately, I may need even to get to know the name of the senator. But from the answers that I'll give, Mr. Speaker, you will know the senator whose questions I didn't pick. Actually, it was one question. And unfortunately, she's a lady, and no bias is only that I didn't pick it. So,
referring to Senator Essie or Kenyuri.
Exactly. So the question, I think, if you don't mind, will be repeated so that I come back to it. But let me address the questions that I captured. First is from Senator for Narok, Ledama. Senator, Honorable Speaker, this system has now been handed over to the government fully. And it is being operated under contractual arrangement with ICT Authority, which is like the department driving. So the money that we collect, all the monies, including convenience fee, is collected by ICT, is collected by government. We pay it to ICT Authority, which then pay the service provider. So the service provider does not collect any money for us. The money is paid to the government. I think that should be very clear. So we have a contract of about 3 years. The details of this contract, the framework, could be provided by the Line Ministry, which is the one that is responsible for the technical aspect of it. But it is a 3 years contract, after which then the government will evaluate whether the system would be continued or we are getting a new system. So it is a 3 years contract, it's not in perpetuity. On the questions by Honorable Senator Boni Alwali, on Line Ministries determining the fees charged, that's what I would say. Because logbook, birth certificate, the fees that are charged are actually determined by the Line Ministries. The justification around it, I may not have the full facts. Why logbooks, maybe, and birth certificates are charged the same and the quality is different, it could be answered more appropriately by the Line Ministries, because they're the ones who design and determine how much is charged. As part of government, I would only take the feedback to my colleagues. If there is a concern from people's representatives of the charges in terms of the high charges, it is a feedback I would take with me. But I want to just also put it that as people's representative, I know you also have the mandate, and by the way, you have the capacity even to invite the Line Ministries which charge these amounts and engage, interrogate, and even recommend that the charges be reduced or even taken off if that would be the most desirable route to take. Senator Muma Catherine, whether we have conducted audits of the NHIF funds, no, we haven't, but we are transitioning to a new authority, but I'm sure that the Auditor General will audit NHIF to find out the closure. As Treasury, which is also responsible for ensuring transparency and accountability of and management generally of public funds, we can also conduct audit using our internal audit team, but as of now, we haven't conducted audit. That is a task that can still be conducted. On Senator Wambua's question, I agree. Many areas of this country still don't even have network connectivity. As any system, once you roll it out is where you discover teething problems or challenges, so to speak. And these are some of the challenges. The rollout has been very smooth, but there are challenges with areas which don't have network. Government has a very robust program to roll out network connectivity across the country. And there is already a special fund allocated to the Communications Authority to be able to carry out this rollout. Mr. Speaker, the only questions I missed was from the Senator. If with your permission, it can be repeated, then maybe I may take it together with any other subsequent questions. Or if it is the last one, then I will take it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Proceed, Senator Okenyuri.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm surprised the CS has forgotten his colleague, or it's because he crossed to the other side. I'm Senator Okenyuri Esther, and the question I had was touching on Senator Sifuna mentioned about payments that are being done to NHIF, and I rose to ask why hospitals are still being owed money by the defunct body, yet people had already been deducted money through the contributions that have been done by them, and how much is the outstanding debt? Thank you.
Senator Mohammed Chute.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Allow me to congratulate our CS. Karibu sana. My question to the CS is about NHIF payments. And I know you are new there, you've just joined the Treasury, but I wanted you to note that we have a problem. There is an engineer from Marsabit, Engineer Wako Guyo, who died on 24th November 2020, and his final dues were tabulated and referred to the Treasury. It's about 15 million shillings. And this is not the only case with the engineer Wako. It is across the problem which is across this country. I know you are an efficient cabinet secretary, and I know you are going to make a lot of changes. I wanted to know what the CS can do. I want you to note down the name of the engineer on how to settle these payments. It is from 2020, and we are in 2024. He has children who are going to school. He has children who has failed to pay university fees. And this is not only him. This is across this country. What can the CS do to alleviate the situation of our people under this situation? Thank you very much.
Now, honorable senators, the supplementary questions that they're asking must be related to the primary question. Stand guided. Senator Wamatinga.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir, for giving me this opportunity to also ask a question. Mr. Speaker, sir, allow me to first of all congratulate the CS for joining our government in the broad-based arrangement. And my question, Mr. Speaker, sir, is will the CS tell us if he has any plan to reintroduce the Huduma number and synchronize it to the e-citizen functions, so that when it comes to matters that are transacted by the citizens, especially the compensation of land issues, which has been one of the main corruption challenges in this country, whether we can be able to synchronize the Huduma number, the e-citizen, and capture the values of those compensations which are made vis-a-vis having a unified approach, so that you do not have different values for land when they are being sold by private citizens, but the government ends up paying exorbitant prices for the same pieces of land. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Kavindu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Let me start by congratulating the CS on his new appointment and say that I trust that he will be able to change and transform Treasury for the benefit of the people of Kenya. My question is about NHIF, the pending bills, especially for faith-based hospitals in the country, particularly Bishop Kioko Hospital in Machakos, which
NHIF owes them 60 million. Not only Bishop Kioko, but the rest of the hospitals, they are facing a lot of challenges, and yet people go to hospitals and they pay with the NHIF. Those bills are paid, but the money is transmitted to NHIF, but this money never gets back to the hospitals. What are you doing about it, Honorable CS? Because this is really a big challenge, even to our national hospitals. Thank you.
Senator Mundigi.
Asante Bwana Spika. Swali langu ingawa iko na dosari kidogo na ile umesema hapa, lakini ningeomba tu uniruhusu niweze kuongea ama kuuliza Bwana Waziri kwa sababu anaweza kujibu. Ya kwanza ni kushukuru Waziri wa Hazina na Fedha kwa sababu alipata kiti ambaye ya kusaidia mambo ya fedha na kwa hii serikali ya muungano, na mpaka kulionekana anaweza kufanya hiyo kazi. Bwana Waziri, kwa hivyo nipongezi. Bwana Waziri, swali langu ni katika Embu County mambo ya fedha huwa imeselewa sana, na unajua tulikubali kwa hii kipindi ya serikali ya muungano kila pesa iwe ikienda county kila mwezi. Lakini Embu County mwezi wa 7, mwezi wa 8 na mwezi wa 9, miezi 3 anja kuweza kupata pesa, na kumekuwa na maramishi ya mambo ya pending bill na wage bill na mambo ya agriculture. Pia ile shida kubwa sana ni pesa ya kununua ndawa. Kwa hiyo ningeomba Bwana Waziri kama uko na uwezo ya kujibu, hata kama Spika amesema yes kuwa inafanana zile unaulizwa hapa leo, najua uko na njia ya kujibu hiyo swali, na iende ikawa Embu County peke yake, ni tuko county 47. Asante Bwana Spika.
Senator Mutenda Tabita.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Allow me also to register my remarks by congratulating the Waziri, because he's the first Waziri to appear before this Senate as Waziri of, as a Minister of Finance, because the other one never appeared. My quick question, Waziri, is on the issue of application for the ID cards. ID cards application costs 300 shillings, and ID replacement costs 1,000 shillings. But what is your take as the Minister for Finance for scrapping off completely the cost of anybody acquiring an identity card in this country, because we are all citizens by virtue that we are born in this country, and bringing this cost totally to zero? And lastly, who owns eCitizen? And if government owns eCitizen, why then do we have double charge, whereby you have the amount that you are paying, and then still there's an additional cost, as you earlier mentioned, in regards to the processing fee? Then why do we have double cost? But just clarify, who owns eCitizen? Thank you, Speaker.
Senator Veronica Ndwati.
Welcome, Honorable CS, and congratulations on your new appointment. Honorable CS, I want you to tell this House whether there is any plan or strategy to onboard SHIF on eCitizen, and whether the data that is on NHIF can be migrated to SHIF to avoid the cost of running another system to manage that data. Is there any plan, and how soon is that plan going to be rolled out? Onboarding SHIF onto eCitizen.
Senator Abbas.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Waziri, congratulations first for the appointment. My name is Abbas Mohammed, Senator for AJAABU, and I share the evolution. Actually, there's a big concern of delay of release of funds to the counties. It takes a long time, almost sometimes up to 4 or 5 months. And as a result of that, counties are forced to get salaries from the banks at a higher cost with a high interest rate. And members, reductions for the certain reductions are not submitted in time, and they are given penalties for that delay. I think, I don't know what your ministry is going to do as a result of the delays of salary release, fund release, and also the penalties from KRA and other sort of reduction. Institutions like Love Fund, all this, they also put interest on the delay of the sort of reductions. So what is the ministry planning to do to curtail that kind of unnecessary penalties that the counties are facing, and why is the for the fund for the counties been delayed so much?
Senator Faki.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi pia najiunga na maseneta wenzangu kumkaribisha Waziri John Mbadi katika bunge la Senate na pia kumpa kongole kwa kuchaguliwa kwake kama waziri katika serikali. Mheshimiwa Spika, dukuduku langu ni kuhusiana na hilo swala la ucheleweshaji wa fedha kwa kaunti zetu, kwa sababu tumeona kwamba baada ya kuondolewa kwa mswada wa fedha wa mwaka 2024-25 kumekuwa na sitofahamu kuhusu ni vipi wataweza kupeleka pesa katika kaunti zetu. Mheshimiwa Spika, nakumbuka mwaka 2019 tulikuwa katika hali hii, lakini wakati ule serikali ilikuwa mamlakani ilipeleka asilimia fulani ya fedha kwa kaunti zetu. Kwa hivyo waziri, hebu tueleze ni sababu gani hizi kaunti haziwezi kupewa asilimia fulani mpaka asilimia 50 ya zile fedha ambazo walipewa mwaka jana ili waweze kutumia na kukidhi mahitaji yao wakati tunangojea sheria mpya itakapokuwa tayari. Asante.
You may proceed to respond. Now, honorable senators, if you look at your order paper, the honorable CS is here for purposes of responding to 4 questions. Now, the question asked by Senator Faki, the question asked by Senator Mundigi, and the question asked by Senator Abbas. Those supplementary questions are related to the question which is going to be asked by Senator Muma. So we don't have to ask everything now because there are 3 more questions, and a lot of the questions that are being asked actually are related to the questions that are yet to be asked. Honorable CS, you may proceed to respond. There is one limb of Senator Ledama's question that you had not responded. How much is paid to the service provider, and whether that has been audited? Proceed. You may proceed. How much is paid to the service provider annually, and whether that has been audited?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the amount of money paid to the service provider fluctuates, and it depends on the number of services offered. But in terms of details, this can be provided by ICT Authority. I know that we pay on average about 180 million per year. Let me just consult 1 minute, Mr. Speaker, on that.
You may proceed to Honorable CS. You may proceed to respond to the other questions.
Yeah, so on the specifics of the amounts, we may need to check and supply. But the information, monthly payments, if the Honorable Senate would want, we would still supply it. In fact, we have all the data from the time when this service, this contract was entered into, all the amounts. Now let me respond to the specific questions by Senator Esther. I've not forgotten you. Sometimes, you know, when you are...
Senator Fernandi, take your seat.
Sometimes when you are graduating in age, we don't say you are advancing, but you are graduating in age, your eyes sometimes become, start misbehaving. But we also, politicians don't like wearing specs. You'll notice most politicians, even when they get to 70, 80, they don't like wearing specs, apart from a few like the leader of minority and Senator Faki. But let me respond by saying that why are hostels still being owed? I think there have been challenges with NHIF. Generally, that is why the government even saw it fit to change the system. There has been a lot of fraudulent activities around NHIF in terms of collusion with service providers, the hostels, and that has complicated the management of this fund. But I would assure this House that there is a high-level engagement to ensure that all pending bills are paid. A lot of pending bills are also owed to NHIF, even by government institutions. And I have the figure, the last meeting we had of a cabinet meeting engaged in this exercise, we agreed that Treasury will work very closely with the ministry to ensure that NHIF, we pay the money that is owed to NHIF so that NHIF can also pay the hostels for a smooth transition to the new system. So there is work going on that. To Senator Chute, final dues not paid since 2020 to a Kenyan, that is very unfair. Actually, let me also confess that I almost said my constituency, but the constituency I've represented for 15 years. There's a lady who yesterday sent me details of her husband, the final dues, and she wants that paid. The husband was a former assistant chief. So there is a problem with the payment of final dues, and this is something that will take. So if I could get for the case, so that we address this specific case, but I think we need to have a clear vision on how to resolve all the cases so that they don't come one by. There are people who may not access a senator or a member of parliament. But on this particular one, Senator, you can give us the details and we'll be able to follow it. Senator Wamatinga, the plans to reintroduce Huduma numbers, especially on issues of land compensation. I want to be very clear that what remains the standard document in this country as proof of your being a Kenyan or as a proof of your existence in this country is still national ID. And that is, to me, the anchor point. These others, we can look for ways of integration, integrating our systems, but we must anchor it on national ID. Allow me, Mr. Speaker, to address the issue of pending bills. I think the issue of Senator Kavindu is again on pending bills. I think I addressed that earlier when I was addressing issues that were raised by Senator Esther. Okay? And then on the issue of issues raised by Tabitha, Senator Tabitha, where application for IDs, and then I think the application for IDs take too long. Maybe I didn't capture it well.
No, Senator Tabitha.
Just maybe clarify.
Honorable CS, have your team help you by noting down these questions.
Yeah.
I was just asking, the application fee is 300.
No, I got it.
Replacement fee is 1,000.
I get it now. I get it now.
But my question was, why don't we then bring it to zero cost, since we are Kenyans and we deserve to have the idea? What's your take? And then who owns e-citizen?
Yeah, the one for each citizen I captured. Now, on the ID, Senator, interestingly, I agree with you. Actually, I'm one of the people who are in this school of thought that you don't have to pay to be registered as a Kenyan if we can take up this cost. And not long ago, I spoke to this differently. I don't want to speak a different language because I'm today a CS. I don't think it is wise to charge for new applicants. Maybe you can charge for replacement because, again, you need to be careful when you are given and national identity, you need to protect it so that you don't lose it. But when you are applying for the first time, I am in agreement that this is a fee that needs to be reconsidered. I now sit in the government. I will use that platform to speak in the line that you are speaking. Once the government takes that position, then I will now join the government in speaking the position of the government, because I'm in the cabinet. I hope you understand the difference there. Who owns each citizen? Each citizen is now run by the government. And why we pay, I think I explained that you pay for convenience. That is why it is called convenience fee. So you may have a problem with it, but that is the rationale for which it was introduced. It can be debatable whether it's a wise idea, but you pay for convenience, because in the absence of this each citizen, it was quite inconveniencing to get government services. And Senator Veronica, plan to onboard chief onto e-citizen. As we speak, there is high level of engagement in the government to see how to integrate all this system. And I think very soon we will be able to onboard all this shift onto the e-citizen, because it's now the standard government payment platform. And we have seen that we have reduced, let me not say eliminated, reduced leakages of public funds the moment we resorted to this single account, the 22222. So we must onboard shift to the e-citizen. The last question is, I was asked by about 4 senators, and I'll combine it because it's one answer. Senator for Embu was the first one to ask, and he asked in Kiswahili. You'll forgive me, I'll answer it in English. And then Senator for Wajir County, the Senator Bass, and of course Senator Faki of Mombasa, asked about the transfer of funds to the counties. I need no persuasion that transfers of funds to the counties must be done timeously. And I think we had agreed that it should be on 5th of the following month. And that we need to follow religiously. I know we have had quite a bit of challenges in terms of cash flow, but the problem that we have had at the beginning of this financial year was not entirely on cash flow. Actually, it doesn't help National Treasury to keep piling transfers to counties. It doesn't, because we just end up with huge bills to pay at a specific time. So we are very comfortable with regular and continuous transfers. However, the problems that we encountered at the beginning of this year is primarily, number one, was the legal challenges or the legal issues. There were 2 schools of thought, because the senators are aware that we haven't passed the CARA for 2024-25. The houses, the 2 houses have not passed CARA. So there were 2 schools of thought. There was one school of thought which believed that we cannot transfer money to the counties until and unless you have 2 critical pieces of legislation. That is the DORA and the CARA. Then there's another school of thought where, fortunately, I belong, that we have regulations in place which allow that you can transfer up to 50% of the previous year's allocation, which in this case was 385 billion. But again, to be very careful and be clear, my office had to seek legal opinion from the Office of the Attorney General, which fortunately we got. And the Attorney General was in agreement with the second school of thought where I belong. Now, so in July, we cleared the last financial year, 2023-24. We paid 30.8 billion in July to clear that financial year. Then last week, we paid July allocation and we paid 31.8 billion to counties. So we haven't paid the August and now September allocations. But I would guarantee that we are making plans to make another payment for the month, at least one more payment. My aim is to make sure that we cover the, because we seem to be having a deficit of not less than a month. So we will try to catch up. Before the end of this year, we must catch up so that we don't have any outstanding amount to the counties. But having said that, because senators are also responsible for oversighting the counties, I want to say this, Mr. Speaker, as I conclude, that let us also try to put pressure on the counties to be able to sort out their issues with the controller of budget, so that we don't have huge balances sitting in the CRF account. As we speak today, there is 42 billion which has not been absorbed or taken up by counties. And the details are there. I don't want to go to the specific details of the counties. We have 42 billion, 380 million, 773,000. That counties have not been able to access. The money is there in the CRF account, 38.2 billion. And again, another 3 billion under recurrent, and another 969 million under development vote. So we need to have absorption which is smooth, because as an accountant and as a finance expert, the last thing you'd want to see is balances accumulating in idle accounts. It doesn't add value to the economy. It slows economic growth, because we need, once the money is transferred to the CRF, it should go to the counties, pay salaries, pay whatever recurrent, and pay and get into development. Because as we speak, largely the development money should be with the counties. The national government the development budget is shrinking by the day. So I don't want to go beyond that. Maybe another day we'll have opportunity now to talk about the transfers to counties and absorption of the budgets or of the exchequer releases. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I would end there. I hope I covered almost all the questions.
Thank you, CS. If your question has not been adequately covered, it shall be covered in the due course before the CS leaves, because he has 3 more questions to respond to. Senator Muma, proceed to ask your question. Question number 060.
Honorable Speaker, my question to the Cabinet Secretaries, my questions to the Cabinet Secretary are as follows. 1, what was the allocation for development expenditure in the national government budget for the financial year 2022-2023, and could the Cabinet Secretary indicate the percentage of the expenditure that was financed by government ordinary revenue, loans, and grants from development partners? 2, how much of the development expenditure was spent on pending bills for projects commenced and or completed in preceding financial years? And could the Cabinet Secretary provide a list of these projects along with their corresponding amounts? 3, could the Cabinet Secretary provide a list of all development projects undertaken by the national government in the said financial year, specifying their names, sectors, locations, corresponding expenditure, completion dates, and indicate whether each project was initiated in the financial year or preceding financial years? 4, could the Cabinet Secretary provide details on all conditional grants by the national government to the counties in the said financial year, including the project names and the corresponding amounts, beneficiary counties, and any funding partners involved? And finally, were there any additional development funding or aid from development partners in the said financial year? And if so, could the Cabinet Secretary specify the amount and the projects funded along with their respective locations? Thank you.
Honorable CS, you may proceed to respond.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This was questioned by nominated Senator Catherine Muma, and it is question number 6060, number 60. The first leg of our question was that what was the allocation for development expenditure in the national government budget for the financial year 22-23, and could I indicate the percentage of the expenditure that was financed by government's ordinary revenue, loans and grants from development partners? And my response is as follows. Honorable Speaker, in the original approved by the development budget for financial year 2022-23, we had an amount of 715.4 billion. Out of this amount, 389.2 billion was to be funded through ordinary revenue, and 292.8 billion was to be funded through loans. And again, 33.3 billion was through grants. However, the estimates were revised, I think a number of times, maybe thrice, if I'm not wrong, during the implementation of the budget. We had several supplementary budgets, and the final approved development estimates amounted to 583 billion, 200 million, 583.2 billion. This then comprised of 357.9 billion funded through ordinary revenue and 190.5 billion funded through loans, and 34.7 billion was funded through grants. How much, question number two was on how much of the development expenditure was spent on pending bills for projects commenced and or completed in preceding financial years, and could my office provide a list of these projects along with their corresponding amounts? My response is as follows, Honorable Speaker, that the details of the development expenditure spent on pending bills for projects commenced and or completed in preceding years, and the projects list and their corresponding amounts cannot be sourced from individual ministries, departments and agencies. Mr. Speaker, this is a very, very complicated exercise if my ministry were to go to all ministries, because there is really not a distinction between new projects and carryovers. Why? Because the law is clear that before you make payments for the next financial year, you need to clear the pending bills of the previous year. So what happens is that ministries and departments just proceed and pay the pending bills like any other amount. So the reports that we get from ministries is usually on global figures of development and recurrent, without specifying how much was for previous financial year and how much is for the subsequent year. But I also want to add that usually every quarter, Controller of Budget provides information to Parliament, and I guess that report of the Controller General should also be coming to the Senate to indicate how ministries implement the budget. So this exercise, if I were to task and engage my officers to go to various ministries, it would take months, if not a year. But it is very possible if the senators are concerned with specific ministry, then that information would easily be sourced. Now, on question number 3, where I'm required to provide a list of all development projects undertaken by the national government in the said financial year, which said financial year here is 22-23, specifying the names of the projects, the sectors where they are located, locations, corresponding expenditure, the completion dates, and whether each project was initiated in the said financial year or preceding financial year. I have, Mr. Speaker, attached a list of all projects which were implemented in the financial year in question, that is 22-23. You will find that under my submission, appendix number 1A and 1B. I am sure my team provided the appendices. Question number 4 was whether whether I could provide details on unconditional grants by the national government to the counties in the said financial year, including the project names and corresponding amounts, beneficiary counties, and any funding partners involved. Here, Honorable Speaker, during this financial year of 22-23, all additional allocations to the county government as specified in Section 5(1) or subsection 1 and subsection 2 of the county government additional allocations Act of 2022 were classified as conditional grants. Okay? So the summary has been provided below, the first schedule and second schedule, and I've attached to this submission is the County Government Additional Allocation Act with detailed schedules of additional allocations to county governments in the said financial year. Funding sources, names of programs, projects, allocated amounts per beneficiary, counties. So that is under appendix number 2. But then I've supplied, I don't know, Mr. Speaker, whether this my additional information found its way to Parliament. I signed it this morning, a little late, because I wanted more details to be provided to the senators in terms of the project name, the amount, beneficiary counties, and financial. Some are GOK, some are IDA Bank, ETC, Danida, and others, World Bank. So, this, Mr. Speaker, I can table as additional information, if you permit me, just in case it didn't find its way, and I've signed it, it's addressed to the clerk of the Senate. So that is question number 4. Then question
Honorable CS, you may proceed to table the additional information.
Thank you. And the information is here with my signature. Now, question number 5, were there any additional development funding or aid from development partners in the said financial year, and if so, could the Cabinet Secretary specify the amount and the projects funded along with their respective locations? Mr. Speaker, the information I have is that there were no additional development funding from the development partners during the said financial year. I thank you.
Senator Muma may proceed to ask your 2 supplementary questions.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I would want you, before I ask my supplementary questions, to note that the Treasury did not submit a response to question number 2. Instead, the Treasury has suggested that I get that information, or the Senate gets that information from the various ministries. Honorable Speaker, our Constitution has elaborate provisions on public finance. It actually contemplates that the Treasury, and the Treasury has been given that role to actually ensure that it has a macro view of what is happening in terms of fiscal matters in this country. So it is unfortunate that the Treasury would run away from actually responding to this. And Honorable CS, I'm aware when this question was brought, you had not been appointed, but I would want to give free advice that when anybody in this country wants to ask a question on the overview of the matters finance, it is you who will be asked. And you cannot afford to say, ask the ministries to tell you what is happening. So I suggest, Mr. Speaker, that you rule that the Treasury provides us with the information requested in my question number 2. Honorable Speaker, I want to appreciate also the Treasury for providing a huge document of the projects that were carried out in development in the financial year 2022-2023. But again, I want to give some counsel to CS that a better presentation of this information would help us to do our oversight better. I had requested specifically that the information be arranged in such a way that we are able to find out how many development projects happened in Isiolo, in Kakamega, in Mombasa, in Murang'a, and the information you've given is good information, but it is one has to dig in and actually do a lot more. Now, in your view, it will take months for your officers to do this. In my view, CS, you don't need your officers to do this. All you need to do is develop a template, send that template to the ministries, and the ministries will be able to give you that information
what is
within
your
2 weeks.
question, Senator Muma? Your supplementary question.
No, this is an important one, Speaker. A question was not answered, and I would want that the Treasury actually responds to that question. So I wanted you to actually rule that we get that extra information from the Treasury. Now to my question, I have done some analysis of this information, CS, and what I have found out is that the approved budgets is not exactly what is expended in actual fact. So we have reduced estimate at every supplementary estimate. We have reduced budgets, especially for the loans and the grants. So my question is, why are the multilateral and bilateral resources reducing every time, and what is the implication of this in terms of delays in getting the utility of the projects that we are passing, issues of honoring bilateral conditions, issues relating to incurring of more costs in fees and commissions, and issues of capacity? Is it that we don't have capacities to deliver on all of these projects? Bwana CS, I have analyzed, and if you check State Department of Technical Vocation, for instance, we only had a 30% performance of the grants available to that sector, 47% performance on the loans. The ASAL area, the Department for ASAL, had only 16% performance on the monies available to them from the loans and 55% performance on the grants. That means the people of Kenya are not getting the development that they need. What is the issue there? Secondly, what is the Treasury as the overall agency responsible for finance doing to ensure that actors at both national and county levels are able to uptake development funds?
Senator Dulo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wish to join my colleagues to welcome Honorable Mbadi. Mr. Speaker, I want to ask a question on revenue. I believe it is related to development projects and the funding. Mr. Speaker, we have never gotten it right as far as the system on collection or automation of revenue in the counties are concerned. Mr. Speaker, over the years, we have even tried KRA to be collecting revenue on behalf of the counties. Again, recently, there was a proposal that they want to come up with a system that is actually going to take care of revenue automation in the counties, Mr. Speaker, so that we have a uniform system. Mr. Speaker, we are losing a lot of money in those counties, which could have actually complemented the budget allocated by the national government. CS, my question is, since you are the new broom, how can you ensure that the revenues collected at the county level, it's properly collected, and you come up with an automated system in all the counties? Because you will see that cash is collected in all the counties. Yesterday we had actually Siaya County, where they are still collecting revenue cash. And it's actually 21st century today. Mr. Speaker, my question is, can you be able to come up with actually a system that is accepted across the board? Because governors are actually fighting that system. If you can be able to come up with a system, Kenyans are actually going to save a lot of money as far as revenue collected at the county level is concerned. I thank you.
Senator for Nandi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to ask the Cabinet Secretary, and I want to thank you, Mr. Speaker. You remember the former CS never stepped in this house even after we sanctioned. I want to thank Mr. Speaker. My simple question is, as at now, Waziri, what is the total pending bill by the national government? Because sometimes we hear that roads are only pending bill of 700 billion. Plus, as of today, what is the total both domestic and international debt that Kenya owes in this country? I thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Senator Mbugua.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and allow me to join my colleagues in congratulating the CS. And I would want the CS to tell this House the specific amount of money the National Treasury owes in pending bills and what the government, through the Treasury, is doing to clear these bills because they're having a negative effect on our economy. Thank you.
Senator Professor Margaret Kamar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. May I congratulate the Minister and welcome him to the House. I worked with him in the 10th Parliament, in the Budget Committee, and I know how sharp he is. So he's truly the new broom in the House. Mr. Speaker, I had a problem with his first response when he referred us back to the individual ministries to get the pending bills. Does it mean that the Treasury does not know the pending bills and does not have these records? Because our assumption is that all the other ministries, money, as far as money is concerned, respond to Treasury, and when they have pending bills, they should be talking to Treasury. So I thought that was a very important question, that we needed to know the link between the ministries and Treasury as far as pending bills are concerned. Don't they have the data? Thank you.
Senator Kisang.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I also wish to join my colleagues to congratulate the new CS, a colleague of mine for 10 years in National Assembly. I know you are a smart CS, and we believe you are going to do a lot of things there and help Kenyans. Mine, Honorable Speaker, is a comment from what Senator Tula said. You know, National Treasury has a system that is centralized, the IBMIS system that basically manages the expenditure at the counties. And I don't see the reason why they should not have an integrated revenue management system for the counties. The governors are fighting because they are stealing by collecting cash, they are stealing by having their own systems with their collaborators. So, Honorable Speaker, I want the CS to commit that by all means, that system, integrated revenue management system, has been rolled to seal the leakages of revenue at the counties.
Honorable CS, you may now proceed to respond.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me say, in response to the supplementary question from the questioner, the Senator Catherine Moma, that question number 2, which was asking the specific pending bills that were paid in the financial year in question. It's not that I've refused or my ministry has refused to respond, but this may require a little bit, quite a bit of time. Because usually when payments are made by the ministries or state departments and MDS, we don't disintegrate that this one is now for pending bill and this is a new bill. We make payments continuously, and then the figure for pending bills are supplied at the end of the financial year. And I'll come to that because that is a question that Senator Margaret Kamar also asked. So I just thought that if maybe there are specific ministries where you are interested in knowing the specific pending bills that were paid, then that would have been supplied easily. But if this House finds that my ministry supplies this information, it will take a while, but we can still supply the information. On whether we could have a template, yeah, Honorable Speaker, maybe I just continue. I hope Senator Catherine could attend to...
Senator Muma, if
yes.
you've abandoned your questions.
Yeah, so she asked whether we could design a template to capture this information. Yes, we could. But again, you know, we have the Public Sector Accounting Standards Board, which determines the kind of systems that we use. It is a recommendation that we can put to the board so that they approve it, and then we have a system that would capture some of this information as and when they are onboarded to the system. Again, the Senator, you are spot on that the approved budget is not what is expended. That is true. Our absorption level is very low, especially on donor-funded, so to speak, projects or projects funded through development partners, through loans and grants. And this is because of a number of reasons, some of which are internal, some also relate to the development partners. But a lot of issues is because of us. Number one, most of the donor-funded projects require counterpart funding. Sometimes we put the donor-funded projects in the budget without sufficient provision, or we end up reducing our budgets like it has happened in this financial year when we realize that we can't collect so much. So you find a deficit in the counterpart funding, which then would affect the donor-funded project, because for the development partners to release the money, they must be assured that the counterpart funding is guaranteed and is forthcoming. So that is a serious challenge that we must deal with. Secondly, there are also reporting issues raised by the development partners. But in terms of the strategy going forward, without going into the details why these absorptions have not been forthcoming or have not been smooth, we have a team that is looking into this matter, coordinated from my ministry, and we are going to address all these issues. Actually, just a few days, I think 2 days ago, I was dealing with a case of the Finnish government ready to provide us with grants, not even a loan. But then our delay, our internal systems are complicating the implementation of the same. So these are issues that are efficiency issues which must be dealt with. But there are also the other ones of budgetary issues. Those ones we must also have a strategy on how to make sure that if we are factoring funding in our budget from development partners, there must be a matching fund or the counterpart funding so that when it comes to implementation, the implementation becomes smooth. So that addresses your issue of how then would we ensure the uptake of these development funds. It is something that, especially now that funding is shrinking by the day, we must make sure that we clear the hurdles on these development funded projects. Senator Dulo has raised serious concerns with the collection of revenue at the counties, and I can't agree more. There is already a proposal which has gone to an advanced stage to have a system, a standardized system for collection of revenue in counties. There is no reason why we should operate like we are 48 governments. We are actually a country with devolved systems of governments, but we need to have a standardized system so that if you come from Isiolo, you go to Homa Bay, it's almost predictable. If you're a business person, what to pay, how much to pay, and even how to pay it should be standardized. So that process is ongoing. Unfortunately, consensus has not been reached with the Council of Governors. I appeared before the last and my first IBEC meeting, and this matter is still under discussion. I hope soon we are going to find a way forward, because we also don't want to upset the county government, because there is a level of autonomy. We don't want to impose a system on them. It is the responsibility of the Ministry of Finance, which is the National Treasury, to design a system to help all spending units have a system that is efficient. But again, we know that county governments also enjoy some level of autonomy. We want to bridge that gap so that we agree. That, I think, is being coordinated by the Deputy President, who is the chair of IBEC, and soon we will come up with a solution. Honorable Cheragay has asked me a direct question on what is the total pending bills. And your question, I would tie it to the question that has been raised by Senator Margaret Kamar. You know, Senator Kamar, you started wishing me well in the 10th Parliament. I don't know what you saw, but you kept on saying that there is somewhere where I'll reach. I don't know whether now you can tell me whether I've reached where you wanted me to reach, or you still feel I'm going far. But it is not that we don't know how much is pending bills. What is not clear is the authenticity of the pending bills that is being reported. Remember, pending bills in Kenya, we have been using what we call cash basis of accounting. So pending bills or money owed to the government by the government of Kenya to various citizens who are service providers. Actually, we should not even call them pending bills. These are debts owed to people. These amounts, we are not very clear about them, because they don't form the body of our financial statements. In cash basis, they are reported as notes off balance sheet. So they really, we don't treat them with the, we don't give them the weight that we should. We are moving, beginning this financial year, to accrual basis, where now pending bills will form part of our balance sheet, of our financial reporting. But right now, the reports that we have is that pending bills, that which were submitted, because we formed the pending bills committee, yeah? It is called pending bills verification committee. What was submitted to them was 664 billion shillings, owed by the national government, not the counties. Now, this amount will definitely come down. From the indication, because we have not even received an interim report, I gather that the pending bills may be just in the region of 400 or so billion, meaning about 200 and so billion could have been fictitious. But let me wait for the final report to be submitted, or even an interim report to be submitted by this committee. So we know the pending bills. On roads, which Honorable Cheragay mentioned, at least we know that we owe cumulatively about 167 billion to the various road contractors. And that is why you see across the country, all road projects have stalled. And quite a significant portion of this is on interest and penalties charged by these contractors for idle equipment, which again, sometimes you find those there are no even equipment on the road. They bring broken machinery and put there. We are on a program and a strategy to make sure, especially on the road sector, that we bring back the road constructors on the road. We managed to negotiate a loan with the China, through China Development Bank. We negotiated a concessionary loan of 36 billion equivalent of Kenya shillings to take up about 15 roads. One would ask, why those roads? These were roads which were being constructed through GOK funds, but were awarded to Chinese contractors. So we have just changed the responsibility of paying them through GOK funds to being paid through a concessionary loan from the Chinese government. But we are in a process where we are looking for money. We hope that by December of this year, we should be able to have cleared at least the pending bills on to the road contractors and have the contractors back on their own. I would have told you more that the moment you owe contractors money, one, you are affecting the economy badly because there is no liquidity. But two, if these contractors could come back to the roads, then construction industry, which has been shrinking, the contribution of construction to GDP, if you looked at the few years, the 2 years now, it has been going down. It is now at about 1.4% of GDP. It used to be very high. Why? Because road constructions across the country is not ongoing. So the contribution of construction to our GDP is very low, and that is why our GDP cannot rise to the required level. Now let me move to, I think Honorable Mbugua also asked the same question on pending bills. So it is a question asked by Senator Cherargei, Senator Margaret Kamar. Now, the last question I have here is from Senator Kisang on integrating our revenue collection system for the counties. Again, I think I addressed this question. We have a proposal, we have a mechanism, we have a system we are proposing to the counties, a standardized system of revenue collection. Unfortunately, consensus is yet to be reached. So the moment we agree with the COG, then this will be rolled out and we'll have a system that is standardized, that can now be checked for efficacy, and if it is good, as I think it will be, then it would help address some of the problems that we face with our counties in terms of revenue collection. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Onyonka.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I would like to, first of all, welcome my brother John Mbadi, who we have slogged it out in this house for many years. And I want to say that, CS, I'm happy to see you. I know that you and me have brushed each other, our shoulders recently, but that was not personal. That was purely business. And I would like to just raise 3 issues. I am glad that you have discussed the issue of revenue collection. My position
Senator
is that...
Onyonka,
yes.
Under standing orders, you're entitled to ask 1 supplementary question. Just
Thank
one.
you. Thank you. It's one which has got 3 lines.
No. 1 is 1.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. CS, the issue of revenue collection, the contradictions in the IFMIS system, the problem of exchequer releases, and of course, finally, our debt. What do you intend to do with those 3 things? I know you've kind of answered them, but I've tried to link them all together. For example, if we had one simple financial system that is interfacing the county governments, the national government, all departments of government, the foreign service, you would then know who's spending your money, how they're spending it, and where it's going. Do you intend to have such a system so that then we can actually reduce the amount of mismanagement or abuse which has taken place with the system? Thank you, sir.
Senator Oburu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also want to take this opportunity to welcome the CS Treasury to this Parliament. I know when I was there as an assistant minister, he used to give me very tough questions, and I was struggling to answer some of those questions. And Mr. Speaker, I just want to ask strictly 1 question, as you have said. This is just curious, Mr. Speaker, that when the team went to China, they only negotiated for payment of Chinese contractors, and yet there are many other contractors who are also stalled They have moved out of the construction site because of pending bills, Mr. Speaker. I did not clearly hear from the CS what they plan to do with these others, and why were the Chinese too selfish just to agree to fund only their own. But if you pay the pending bills, what happens now for further construction? Is it just paying debt for these contractors? And what arrangement is there to make sure that those roads which were funded by the Chinese continue and they are finished? Because that is the interest of Kenyans. We don't want to know whether you have paid them. They are pending bills. Pending bills is only pending, but we want how the arrangements you have for continuation and completion of those roads, and what will happen to those ones which are not funded by the Chinese, and why they were only funding the ones for their contractors and not the others. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Wambua.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Very interesting that Senator Oburu is actually asking the question that I wanted to, but I will twist it a bit. Because basically what has happened then, the Chinese have given us a concession loan to pay their own people, and you can take care of your people wherever whichever you take care of them. But going specifically to that 36 billion Kenya shillings that you have gotten from China to revive the construction of 15 roads, as you said, I want to ask the CS to check with these people, if we can now, whether those 15 roads, the Kibwezi, Mutomo, Kitui, Migwani, Bodoni Road, is part of the 15 roads that will be revived. Bwana CS, that road is such a pathetic situation. 102 kilometers. They have done almost 180, remaining less than 20 kilometers to completion. The contractor has shipped out of sight. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable CS, you may proceed to respond.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. How I wish Senator Onyonka was still around. But I just wanted to give confidence to the country that what was seen as differences between me and Onyonka, and maybe even Senator Sifuna, we were just discharging our responsibilities. And these are my friends. We've come from far. Onyonka, we have been with him in Parliament for over 15 years. And so nothing personal. In fact, there was even talk, Senator, that I've lost weight. I just wanted to advise those who are graduating in age that you must keep fit. It is healthy. It's very, very good for your health. So I've deliberately been cutting that weight. And I'll continue to cut. It has nothing to do with the pressure, stress. There is pressure, yes, at the Treasury, no doubt. But it is not something that is insurmountable. It's something that I'm prepared for. And I continue to discharge my duties. I agree with Honorable Senator Onyonka on the contradiction in our various financial systems. You can have many financial systems addressing specific issues, HR, other issues like payment system, but what the answer is in integration. IFMIS was supposed to address this, but I think IFMIS has some failures or weaknesses which must be dealt with. So we are actually looking at integrating our systems so that we have a system that you can have a clear view, that you can, the visibility of transactions are very clear. We are also doing it with KRA. Mr. Speaker, there is a program that we have in place to make sure that KRA in terms of tax collection is improved and enhanced. Even this afternoon, we have a briefing session on the same. We want to make sure that all VATs are paid, that all rental income, which we are only collecting 17 billion, Mr. Speaker, and yet the potential is 101 billion or thereabout, and many others like personal income tax, Mr. Speaker. Personal income tax in this country professionals in this country who are not very poor, Mr. Speaker, don't pay as much as people who are salaried pay because the visibility is not clear. So this integration of the system is key. Let me address the issues raised by my senior, Senator Oburu, and actually my mentor. Those who may not know, the only senior politician who campaigned for me when I was coming in for the first time is Honorable Dr. Oburu Oginga, and I still owe him a lot for that. He has brought me to where I am. I want to address this issue of Chinese contractors, and that is also the same question that Senator Wambua asked. Let me just explain how the Chinese contractors, the Chinese government, through China Development Bank, agreed to take up some of these contracts and pay. Previously, we are aware, especially during President Kibaki's time, that Chinese government used to fund a lot of road constructions in this country. They were giving us funds and bringing their contractors. That was one of the conditions. But along the way, we shifted our attention from road construction funded by Chinese contractors to other areas like SGR, geothermal, etc. So very few of the roads in this country from the time President Uhuru came into office have been contracted or done by funds from the Chinese government. Most of the roads that we see Chinese contractors engaged in are funded through Government of Kenya funds. Now, it became almost impractical for us to be able to finance all this road construction, both by Chinese contractors, other contractors from elsewhere, and even the Kenyan contractors. So what happens is that we have a budget every year of about 50 billion for development under the State Department for Roads. But the bills, the pending bills, as I mentioned earlier, is 167. So you need not less than 3 years just paying pending bills. That is why the government came up with a strategy to take contracts that were under or in the hands of Chinese contractors in terms of road construction and negotiate with Chinese government if they could be funded from their money through concessionary loans. There are so many contractors. In fact, the total amount of works, both pending bills and what should be done, which should be done by Chinese contractors, is so much money. Now, what happens is that Chinese were only able to agree to 36 billion, and the criteria was that the roads should be not those ones which have graduated or have been developed to a certain percentage. I think it was 25%. So those roads which less than 25% had been done are the ones that were onboarded to this facility. So, Senator Wambua, I may need to check whether Kibwezi Mutomo Road is a part of this. But I know that many roads done by Chinese contractors are not in that list, including a road which is in my own constituency, was also left out in that list. Mr. Speaker, what is the strategy? I think Senator Oburu ended by asking me to clearly state how then the other roads would be funded. Mr. Speaker, if the 7 shillings increase in fuel levy fund is allowed to continue, we have a strategy to securitize that amount, and because we'll be collecting about 30 billion per year, securitize it, and then pay off the pending bills, and then now we come to a level where we can budget for additional works. But my final comment is this. Mr. Speaker, we must go back to the root cause of these pending bills. Why are we starting new roads when the ones that are ongoing have not been completed? We have not been budgeting for road construction properly. Because you find a road that should cost 2 billion, once the Ministry of Roads has 200 million, then they start it. They procure and award. 200 million, how many years will you need to complete a road of 2 billion by allocating 200 million? Mr. Speaker, a road which has spending bill of 513 million is awarded 47 million. You need over 10 years to just pay the pending bills. We must come back to the basics and stop playing politics with road construction in this country and ensure that those road projects which are ongoing are completed. Then we can then start other roads. That is what I would say, Mr. Speaker. I end my submission there.
We now proceed to question number 088 by the Honorable Senator Joyce Korir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am asking the Honorable CS this question on behalf of Senator Joyce Korir. And before I do that, Mr. Speaker, I want to also congratulate the Honorable CS for his joining the broad-based government and for taking the lead in participating in the responses to the questions regarding service delivery to the people of Kenya. Question number 088, Honorable CS, is in the following. Under question A, could the Cabinet Secretary explain the inordinate delay in processing and disbursing pension benefits to retired civil servants, and state why one Mr. Stephen Kipyegon Turgat of TSC number 073576 and Mr. Jonathan Kiptanui Langat of TSC number 069710, who retired in the year 2001, are yet to receive their pension? B, what measures has the ministry put in place to ensure the timely processing and disbursement of pension benefits to civil servants? And could the Honorable CS provide a timeline for the disbursement of all the pending pension dues? C, Mr. Speaker, what initiatives has the ministry taken to sensitize civil servants on their pension rights as well as the pension claim processes? And lastly, to the Honorable CS, could he explain any measures that has been put in place by the ministry to ensure retirees can access the pensions department services countrywide, thereby eliminating the need to travel long distances to Nairobi to follow up on these pension claims? Mr. Speaker, those are the questions, and I thank you.
Cabinet Secretary, please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, again, Senator Joyce Korir wanted to know the following, and I'll start with question number 1. This was question number 088. So the first question was if I could explain the inordinate delay in processing and disbursing pension benefits to retired civil servants, and there are specific pensioners whom she has sought to know if they have received their pensions, and I respond as follows. Honorable Speaker, over time, several key factors have contributed to delays in pension processing within the pensions department. However, through targeted initiatives, many of these issues have been incrementally addressed, leading to improvements in processing efficiency. Below are some of the primary factors impacting on the pension processing and disbursement timelines, while I will discuss the measures taken to mitigate the challenges shortly. Number 1 is delays in submission from MDS, that is ministries, departments, and agencies. So one of the major causes of delays is the late submission of necessary documentation from MDS. These delays are often due to inefficiencies and internal bottlenecks within the MDS, where the preparation and forwarding of pension-related documents are not always prioritized. Number 2, incomplete documented claims resulting in referral backwards. Another significant delay factor is the frequent submission of incomplete or improperly documented claims. When key information is missing. Claims have to be referred back to the originator for correction, causing substantial delays in processing. Number 3 is system unavailability. Technical issues and system downtime have also contributed to delays in processing pensions. Outages and system failures often resulted in significant backlogs as the department was unable to process claims during these periods. Number 4 is workload versus staffing. Previously, the imbalance between the heavy workload and limited number of staff coupled with limited automation was a contributor to delays. The volume of claims had grown in unmatched proportions of human resource and the then deployed technology, leading to extended timelines for pension processing. Number 5, bureaucratic bottlenecks. The presence of multiple layers of approval within the pension processing workflow contributed to unnecessary delays. Each level of approval required time, often without adding significant value to the process. Number 6 is delayed budgetary allocation. Pension processing is also impacted by delays in exchequer allocations. On the specific cases, I will now respond as follows. Now, there were specific cases where I was asked to respond. Case number 1 is Stephen Turgut Kipyegon. I hope I've got the name correctly. TSC number 73576. Pension number APN/PC 150010. Mr. Stephen Turgut retired from the Teacher Service Commission with effect from 31st August 2003, where he last served as an approved Teacher 1. His claim was submitted to the Pension Department by the TSC on 15th January 2004. His pension benefits were processed and paid on 4th August 2004. He was awarded 625,899 shillings and 90 cents as his lump sum, including monthly pension arrears. He was receiving a monthly pension of 9,278 until his demise on 2nd April 2012, when the 5 years dependent pension took effect and was paid to his dependents, that is his wife, Mrs. Margaret Chepkirui Turgut. She received a monthly dependent pension of 9,778, which ceased on the 5th anniversary of the death of the pensioner. Mrs. Turgut was also paid a widows and children's pension in arrears through the December 2013 payroll, followed by the subsequent monthly pension of Kenya shillings 4,362 to date. Case number 2 was on Jonathan Kiptanui Langat, TSC number 69701, and pension number APN/PC 131805. Mr. Jonathan Langat retired from the Teacher Service Commission again with effect from August 31st, 2001, where he served as a P1 teacher. His claim was submitted to the Pension Department by the TSC on 14th May 2002. His pension benefits were processed and paid on 9th August 2002, and he was awarded 165,282.10 cents as his lump sum payment, including monthly pension arrears. He received a monthly pension of 3,613.17 cents Kenya shillings until his demise on 18th September 2006, when the dependent pension took effect and was paid to his dependents, his wife, Miss Irene Chepkoech Langat, at a monthly rate of 3,613 that ceased on the 5th anniversary of the death of the pensioner. She was also paid widows and children's pension, which she continues to earn at the rate of Kenya shillings 4,120 to date. Additional context on pension review. It is important to note that a category of retired teachers was subject to a pension review following the landmark ruling in Teacher Service Commission versus Simon P. Kamau, and the court case is indicated there, Mr. Speaker. This ruling addressed disparities in pension payments for teachers who retired between 1st July 1997 and 30th June 2003, entitling them to have their pensions recalculated based on revised salary scales. Mr. Stephen Kipyegon Turgut retired on 31st August 2003 and did not fall within the eligible category for the pension review. However, Mr. Jonathan Kiptanui Lagat retired on 31st August 2001 and was eligible for review. The TSC submitted the revised pension claim on 16th August 2024. The claim was processed and the revised amount totaling 301,692 was duly paid to his wife, Irene Chepkoech Langat, being revised pension. Question number 2, or B, according to the questioner, was on what measures has the ministry put in place to ensure the timely processing and disbursement of pension benefits to civil servants, and could the Cabinet Secretary provide a timeline for the disbursement of all pending pension dues? Honorable Speaker, the National Treasury acknowledges the importance of continuously enhancing the timely, efficient, and effective payment of pensions to all retirees. Before outlining the specific measures taken, it is essential to understand the broader context of the pension payment process. Overview of the pension payment process. Number 1, dependency on various actors. The pension payment process involves multiple stakeholders, each with distinct responsibilities that impact the timelines for pension disbursement. Number 2, retiree and beneficiary responsibilities. Retirees or beneficiaries of deceased officers must apply for their pension dues by completing and submitting the necessary documentation. Delays in this step, especially in cases of family disputes or litigation, can impact the payment timelines. Number 3 is the employer's role. Employers are required to issue retirement notices to employees at least 1 year in advance to enable timely submission of pension claim forms. The employer is expected to submit these claims to the Pensions Department at least 9 months before the employee's retirement. Number 2 is the role of the Pensions Department. As the final authority in the pension processing chain, the Pensions Department is expected to finalize claims within 90 days of receiving fully supported pension claims. Number 5 and final one is the impact of exchequer funding. The release of pension gratuity payments depends on the availability of exchequer funding, which in turn is influenced by national revenue inflows. Delays in funding can affect the timely disbursement of pensions. Mr. Speaker, on specific measures implemented. In pursuit of continuous improvement, the following measures have been implemented. Number 1 is the re-engineering of the pensions management information system. One of the most critical initiatives is the comprehensive overhaul of the pension management information system. The National Treasury is actively re-engineering the PMIS to enable its functionality, data management, and overall efficiency. A contractor was onboarded in February 2024 for the development, supply, configuration, installation, testing, implementation, and commissioning of an online pension management information system in order to guarantee an enterprise resource planning ERP solution, which will automate pension processes end-to-end and eliminate manual interfaces. This upgrade will significantly streamline pension processing, ensuring faster and more accurate disbursement, meaning we'll be transiting officers from the payroll to the pension. Key features and benefits of the forthcoming pension management information system have a number of key features. I don't know whether to read all of them. There is online submission, there is self-service portal, timely payments, real-time monitoring, enhanced security, automated processes, integration with existing systems, as I've just explained, where we integrate with the government systems like Government Human Resources Information System, Civil Registration Bureau, KRA, and Registration of Persons Bureau, and integrate it with the Population Registry System, which would ensure data accuracy and consistency. The other one will be digital records management, where we are going to digitize pension records, reducing the risk of loss or damage to physical documents. Finally, there will be customer support, which is a dedicated help desk, provides support to pensioners and stakeholders, ensuring smooth implementation and operation. The proposed e-pension system modernizes pension administration in Kenya by leveraging on technology and innovative processes. It aims to provide a seamless and efficient experience for pensioners, improving the overall effectiveness of pension management. The project is on track to be completed and rolled out by the end of this calendar year. Number 2 is deployment of pension officers to key ministries, departments, and agencies. And this is to further expedite the pension processing chain. The government has deployed 32 pension officers to various key MDAs, including the Teacher Service Commission, which has majority of the pensioners, National Police Service, and the Ministry of Health, Interior, Education, Agriculture, Livestock, and Prisons. These officers are tasked with handling pension claims on site, drastically reducing the time needed for verification and submission of claims to the pension department. This strategic deployment ensures that pension claims are processed more quickly and the retirees receive their benefits without unnecessary delays. Early submission of pension claims. The Public Service Commission has mandated in its policies that MDAs submit pension claims to the Pensions Department 9 months before an officer's official retirement age or date. This early submission allows for thorough verification and processing of claims well in advance of retirement, ensuring that pension benefits can be disbursed promptly upon the retiree's departure from the service. Number 4 is adherence to the 90-day processing timeline. The Pensions Department has reinforced its commitment to processing fully supported pension claims within 90 days, as outlined in the National Treasury Citizens Service Delivery Charter. This commitment is integral to ensuring that pensioners receive their benefits within a reasonable time frame after retirement, thus minimizing any financial uncertainty during the transition to retirement. Number 5 is technical supports and system enhancements in the Pensions Department. The Pensions Department has executed a technical support contract aimed at improving the payment process and enhancing the overall customer experience. Key initiatives under this contract include the stabilization of the system and assurance of system availability, system designs to enhance automated claim processing of hitherto difficult isolated cases. Let me move to number 6, which is deployment of pension officers to Huduma centers nationwide. I think, again, that is self-explanatory. We are also now review of the pension legal framework. Recognizing the need for a robust and adaptable pension system, the government is undertaking a comprehensive review of the pensions legal framework. This review set to begin in the second quarter of 24-25 financial year. It's aimed to align the pension laws with changing demographics, economic conditions, and social expectations. The goal is to ensure financial sustainability, equity, and international competitiveness in Kenya's retirement system. Number 8 is formulation of a national retirement benefits policy. Again, the national retirement benefits policy, approved by the Cabinet on 3rd November 2023, serves as a cornerstone for the future development of the retirement benefits sector in Kenya. This policy is designed to improve governance within the retirement system, foster sector growth, and ensure income security of retirees. Number 9 is a sensitization of civil servants on retirement documentation. To further support timely pension processing, the Pension Department has conducted workshops aimed at educating civil servants on the necessary documentation and procedures required before retirement. And again, the details are provided in my written submission. Number 10 is recruitment of additional pension officers. In a bid to bolster the Pension Department's capacity, which I expressed earlier, the National Treasury recruited additional pension officers in the year 2021, followed by 6 deputy directors with extensive expertise in pension administration, who were recruited in the year 2024. So this recruitment drive is a part of a broader strategy to enhance the department's efficiency and effectiveness in managing pension benefits for public servants. The other question that was asked, Mr. Speaker, is what initiatives has the ministry taken to sensitize civil servants on their pension rights as well as the pension claim processes? Here, Honorable Speaker, I want to state as follows, that the Pensions Department has continuously engaged in civic education to the public regarding pensions and their rights as civil servants to access pension as well as information. Some of the measures in place to sensitize civil servants include the following. One is partnership with NDS for sensitization of pensioners. Actually, I had already spoken to that. Number two is joint public exhibitions with industry pensions players. Number three is online publications of pension information to the public. The fourth question, Mr. Speaker, was, could the Cabinet Secretary explain any measures put in place by the Ministry to ensure retirees can access the Pensions Department services countrywide, thereby eliminating the need to travel long distances to Nairobi to follow up on pension claims? Honorable Speaker, I wish to state as follows. The National Treasury has put in place a number of measures as elaborated below. I have just explained two measures. Number one, deployment of pension officers to all the Huduma centers countrywide. To enhance service delivery, the Pension Department decentralized its information services through the deployment of pensions officers to Huduma centers countrywide. This initiative was designed to address the concerns of the elderly pensioners and beneficiaries who faced logistical challenges to access the pension services at the headquarters in Nairobi. The department has also deployed the real-time pensions management information system to the Huduma centers to facilitate efficient customer care services at the country level. Finally, Mr. Speaker, is outreach programs by pension officers through Huduma Mashinani. The department, through its officers deployed to the Huduma centers, have been sensitizing the public on pension matters while rendering pension services through the Huduma Mashinani outreach programs. This initiative ensures that the pension services can be accessed by retirees at the grassroots level countrywide. In conclusion, the Pension Department has continuously revamped its operations through adoption of a results-based management approach to ensure timely, efficient, and effective payment of pension to all retirees. In the financial year 23-24, the Pension Department was allocated 187.5 billion in the revised budget to pensioners to fund gratuities, payroll, and dependent pensions to the public. The disbursed amount as of 30th June 2024 was 148.9 billion, where gratuities or lump sum benefits were 43 billion and pensioners' payroll was 73.6 billion, with a biannual monthly increase of 3% for pensioners. And lastly, the new scheme, which is the superannuation scheme, contributions was 31.6 billion. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Sige, you have a supplementary question.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. I first of all want to appreciate the Honorable CS for a very elaborate response to the various questions which were asked by my colleague, Senator Joyce. I have got two questions. One, I want to get a commitment from the Honorable CS, noting that the two specific cases which were listed here, you've elaborately responded that the pensions have since been paid. The last one was on the 16th of August 2024. I believe this will answer that first limb of the question. But I would wish to get a commitment from your end with regards to the system which you have. This is called the re-engineering of the Pension Management Information System, PMIS, which, according to your response, is due to be completed and rolled out by end of the year 2024. I would be very happy to get a commitment and undertaking by the Honorable CS with that timeline. And two, question number two, which is supplementary question number two, which is emanating from your response to question number 4 on the measures which you've put in place or your ministry has put in place to ensure retirees access pension. The second one is on the outreach programs by pension officers. This one, I want to confirm to you, Honorable CS, that from where I come from, where I represent the county of Bomet, I haven't been able to experience or get to know that these do exist. Could I or could you be in a position to confirm that that is so, and if not, I would be very happy to get a confirmation that you will facilitate this outreach program for the pensioners to get to understand Duma Mashinani, and in particular to facilitate them benefit from these outreach services. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. Cabinet Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my commitment to Senator Sigei is that the two cases have been addressed. The first case, actually the second case is the one that had a little bit of issues because of the revising of the pension system following the court case. And so there was additional funds that were supposed to be given to this pensioner, and that was processed in August 20. There should be no issue at all. On the rollout of the system, yes, the commitment from my team is that by the end of this fiscal year, initially there was a talk that we should roll it out by the end of this financial year, but I think we have insisted that the rollout should be by the end of this fiscal year. Because again, we usually as a government have very good intentions, good strategies, but implementing them become a problem, and then implementation or rollout become a moving target. I'm trying to keep